the day it officially died, because I remember like when I went to Louisville, like on my visit, like I talked to our receivers coach, and like we talked a little bit about possibly letting me walk on. Since I was so fast, like your film is whatever, like your film like matter, but it don't matter that much when you ran 10-4. But I remember like possibly trying. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to run 10-3, 10-2 my junior year, and then try to walk on for my senior year last year, whatever. And I remember like the first game, home game, it was the Louisville versus Charlotte, University of Charlotte. I think it was like the first game playing like in the FBS, and Lamar went for like 7 touchdowns in the first half. And I remember like having like a front row seat for that. And I said to myself, yeah, bro, I don't deserve to be on the field with a guy like that. Like football's done. Like it's good, bro. Like football's done. But
Welcome to the Raw Facts Podcast. I'm your host and producer, Ben Arthur, joined by my boy DJ Bien-Aime. He is the Houston Texans beat reporter for ESPN's NFL Nation. He used to cover the Jets for the New York Daily News. He ran track at Louisville, so he's a D1 athlete. He's also Kodak Black's biggest fan and a hot dog and a big hot dog fan.
DJ. Why you calling it a hot dog though? That call is correct word.
Glizzy? I mean,
nah,
I really don't like that word, bro. I really don't like it.
Hey, that's your problem. But when you address hot dogs around me, you gotta say glizzy.
My bad. My bad.
Like, you gotta respect the dog.
My bad. Glizzy. DJ Bien-Aime, Glizzy, what? Enthusiast? Connoisseur? Okay.
Connoisseur, yes, sir.
Okay, there we go, man. Well, DJ, appreciate you coming on, bro. How's everything going with the season so far?
That's going good. Just good to the team is interesting. I think that's all that truly matters. The team interesting because the record don't necessarily make a team interesting or not per se. Like, because sometimes they just be storylines. Like a team could be 3-14, but like if there's like, let's say like hypothetically the Bears. Like then, they end up finishing like 4-13 with their situation, right? Like that's still an interesting cover because you got the Justin Fields component, you got the head coach component of him possibly losing his job, you got the draft component. Where like last year the Texans, like they're bad, Lovey got fired, but like wasn't really much interesting about that team.
They didn't have a quarterback.
Only interesting was like Brandon Cooks didn't get traded. Once he did get traded, that was it. Like there was nothing interesting about that team for the rest of the year. So, bro, like this year's been a lot more interesting. It's been a lot more fun. Just cover that team. A lot of good guys in that locker room. Things to look forward to each week. I get to write a lot more, so I get to also work on my craft a lot more. I get to do more digital stuff, whether radio, TV, obviously just writing. I get way more opportunities, way more options now. The team has some level of relevancy, So this year's been a lot better than previous years.
I feel that. And I definitely, later in the conversation, I want to talk about just the fact that you get to cover a franchise quarterback who's just starting his career in CJ Stroud. But we'll get to that. But want to start with you, right? I mean, you're the guest. You're the star of this episode. So, you're from Miami, right? You're from a Haitian family.
Yep.
So, what do we need to know? What do the audience, right? What do they need to understand about those two things to understand like who you are as an NFL reporter now?
That's a good question. I would say like being from Miami, since it's a hotbed of talent. Like you kind of grew up around a lot of NFL, like future NFL guys. Like I've gone to high school with guys that are in the league now. Obviously, that helps in terms of being able to get conversations going. Like for example, Denzel Perryman. Like I played football, high school football with his godbrother, some dude named TJ. You know what I'm saying? So like that's how me and him were able to connect, and we got a solid relationship. Obviously, my Haitian background, also growing up in an Asian household, made me very thick-skinned for everything that came with trials and tribulations that journalism has. Like I could take criticism from outsiders very well because I'm like, man, I ain't saying nothing I haven't heard from my parents. in some capacity. You know, I heard worse from my parents. You know, not saying that they verbally abused me, but like they were hard on me for sure. So, you know, when like people on Twitter may say X, Y, and Z, that don't do nothing to me at all, because again, like I was raised by some very old school parents that instilled a lot of traits in me that I've been able to carry throughout my life in terms of like, you know, dedication, hard work. I mean, me and Chris Rim, you know him obviously, the LA Chargers reporter. We want, you know, when I was in Baltimore, we were just talking about how like immigrant parents, man, they really don't play. Obviously, you know, you're African, you know, your parents from Ghana, so like, you know, like how tough immigrant parents overall are to your kids, the first generation of kids in America, and that really helps you navigate life, because you're really used to things not being easy anyway, and things not being given to you. That's just kind of like the household I was raised in, and obviously, like a lot of immigrant parents have that same approach. So, because of that, like, you know, whenever trials and tribulations popped up in my life, whether it's from JUCO, D1, getting into the industry, surviving in the industry, it's been my, you know, you get that flight or fight, and it's automatic fight. You know what I'm saying? I'll never fly away from any of it, because I wasn't raised that way. So I would say those two things helped shape who I am to this day.
And as you said, South Florida raised, you went to school, I guess, with some NFL guys. I guess in your case, like playing high school football, like did you think like you were going to go to the league at some point, or were you one of those guys who's like, no, I don't really got it?
So when I went to, after, you know, I didn't really do too much in high school, athletically, track or football, but I did want to pursue football. So I went to JUCO. I for sure convinced myself that I could get to the league, but I think the majority of kids that go JUCO think that, mainly because that's the only way you're gonna be able to get up every single day. Like, it can't be like you just trying to go D2, or you just trying to go lower level D1 or even D1. Like, it got to be like, oh, I'm trying to go to the league, because like what you go through in JUCO, the only way you can like push through all that is if you have that mindset, that you can get to the league. Like, most guys, it don't matter whether white, black, Hispanic, Indian, whatever, most guys there are thinking like, I can play in the NFL for sure. And if you don't have that mindset, it's really easy for you to get washed away. Because like when I was in JUCO, like obviously you don't have, like, the dorm situation is nasty, the food sucks, the area sucks. Like, I went through JUCO. My first JUCO was in the hood. So like, I remember one time being on campus, and some guy with dreads, I forgot his name. Some guy with dreads ran back on campus, breathing hard. Hey, bro, they just robbed the church's chicken nearby at gunpoint. They let me go though, because I was a student. They said all the students can go. And, you know, like, you know, things like that. I remember like one time, me and my dog Yule, yeah, bro, he was from Miami. He went to North. I think he went to Miami Beach High. Yeah, Yule went to Miami Beach High, and I remember.
Wait, so this JUCO wasn't? Sorry, this JUCO was in Miami.
This JUCO was Arkansas Baptist. This is Arkansas Baptist, Little Rock. Yeah. So this is the first one, right? So, me and Yule, we kicking it. You know, we kicking it with these two girls at some park, right? And we just chilling, vibing, right? I don't know, all you bah, bah, bah. We just like, damn. like we ain't even move. We were just like, I guess that was just gunshots. And then we just kept talking to the girls, you know what I'm saying? And then eventually we went back home. But yeah, that's how it was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I remember, I remember one time we went to like this party nearby at the University of Arkansas Little Rock. It was me, him, three guys I went to high school with, and the dude named Warren, Christian, Jalen. And then also we rode with one of yours homeboys named Jose. And like at the end of the night, we were caught in a brawl. You know what I mean? It was caught in a brawl, you know. So and I remember being at the school, like me and the Warren, we both got our iPad stolen. I got some Dre Beats stolen, like on campus, whatever. And I just remember like when we practiced at a high school, we played games at a high school, we had to walk to practice. We used to something like just the bus to like practices if it was like further away. You know, like the classes were very elementary in that capacity. So again, like all you really had was football. Like while we in Reed, like our weight room sucked. You could see bats flying through the gymnasium. So like it was really bad. You know what I'm saying? Like even like the dorm, like it was like somewhat like bunk beds. So like the only way you could convince yourself to stick with this was if you thought you could play in the league, right? Like that was your desire. That was the only way for most dudes to be able to survive, right? And then I went to school in North Dakota, similar, right? Like weight room sucked. Obviously, it wasn't in the hood, but it was in a very white area. Obviously, I was like 19 years old at the time, 18, 19 years old at the time. So like I wasn't really that privy or like understanding of like just the culture dynamics in that capacity. But all we had was the Walmart across the street. We had no fast food restaurant for real. Like there's no Burger King, no McDonald's, no Wendy's, no Popeyes, no Church's Chicken, no none of that. All we had nearby was like a buffet, a Chinese buffet. That food was solid. I can't like it was garbage. It was solid, but solid at the time. Solid at the time. Obviously, I wouldn't eat there now. But yeah, I mean, you know, like even then, like we didn't even have spring football. Like all we did was like practice on our own. But even then, like you got to convince yourself, like, oh, I could go to the league. I can go to the league. And then once I left that, I went to some school in Northern California. And again, saying like I was paying for rent. It's my first time ever paying rent. I was paying like $200 a month. Obviously, you know, my mom was paying it, but like I had to also balance like first time I ever had to balance like you know bills and like buying groceries and stuff. But even then, like you know, now we actually had spring practices and we had workouts and stuff, and I was running track. But even then, like you had like I was a lot hungrier then because I ain't have on campus housing. So like even then, like you know, I forgot who made the joke about it, but like somebody I forgot who it was saying like they should sometimes see me outside like the cafeteria, like looking in, see if I could sneak in or whatnot. Obviously, you know, I ain't never sneak in. Like I try to finesse sometimes though, but you know, like that was probably like the hardest JUCO experience for me because like that was the first time like I ain't have like guaranteed like 2-3 meals a day where I did in Arkansas or North Dakota. So like while you going through all that, and it was cold in North Dakota and Arkansas and Northern California, so you going through all that, you gotta convince yourself I can go to the league after I'm done with this, and I can go D1, but then go from D1 go to the league because like that's the only way you'll put up with everything that you're dealing with, right? So like I remember my last year in JUCO, that fall from I want to say from August through December, we had it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It was 7 dudes living in a 2-bedroom. Yeah, so 4 of us living in the living room, 1 in one bedroom and 2 in the bigger bedroom. 1 got kicked off like his first day there. So it was 6 of us. So obviously, you know, do the math. There was 3 in the living room, 1 in the same situation for the bedrooms, but 1 bathroom. So like, I remember one time we ran out of soap, so we was using like the detergent powder, like the pods. So like we would just pop it and use that as soap because we didn't have a nearby grocery store that we could go to. So we all had to like, you know, we didn't have, and none of us had a car. So I remember we were just doing stuff like that to try to make, you know, pass time and make ends meet and stuff. And I ended up getting kicked off the team because I was a little bit of a diva. So like, you know, at that point, that's when I was like, all right, let me go D2. And then so I could still have a shot to play football and then go to the league, right? That's what I was thinking. So then, like, I ran track again that following year thinking, all right, if I run fast enough, I can get a track scholarship and still play football. But football was the only thing that was keeping me around, right? So I would say, like, just the desire to go to the league was the only thing that kept me going. And then once I started getting, like, bigger offers for track, like, that's when I started to, like, let that dream go away. The day it officially died, because I remember like when I went to Louisville, like on my visit, like I talked to our receivers coach, and like we talked a little bit about possibly letting me walk on. Since I was so fast, like you know, your film is whatever. Like your film like matter, but it don't matter that much when you ran 10-4. But I remember like possibly trying. I was like, all right, I'm gonna try to run 10-3, 10-2 my junior year. And then try to walk on for my senior year, last year, whatever. And I remember like the first game, home game, it was the Louisville versus Charlotte, University of Charlotte. I think it was like the first game playing like in FBS. And Lamar went for like 7 touchdowns in the first half. And I remember like having like a front row seat for that. And I said to myself, yeah, bro, I don't deserve to be on the field with a guy like that. Like football done. Like it's good, bro. Like football is done. But you know, I was already thinking like football might be done because one of my best friends who probably be in my wedding, Bobby Jones, like he always encouraged me through the whole thing, the whole JUCO process. And I remember like we went to go get a haircut, and like he was telling me like, yeah, bro, like it's a great opportunity for you. You get to you know get a scholarship, run track, you can possibly walk on, da 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 da. And I remember we went to go work out. Like I want to say later on in the week, we went to like a little park, like sand park, and we did football drills. And I remember like we got back in the car, we stopped by this one guy's house that was, I think at the time was at Howard. We played ball with high school ball with. He coached at FSU now. And Bobby, I remember like Bobby just being on his phone, and like he was just like, "Yo, DJ, I think you should probably just like focus on track. He's like, you don't want to get hurt and then ruin your scholarship." But what he was telling me was, you ain't got it no more. Like just focus on track.
Basically,
you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So like I was already kind of letting football go anyway. But I think what like slammed it shut was watching Lamar Jackson in person.
I see. Yeah. So now running track at Louisville, what was maybe your most memorable experience on that team?
That's interesting. Because my senior year, I got hurt. So, like, I ain't really run that much my senior year. My most memorable experience, I would say, I got a few. But I think the one that stand out for me the most is competing at ACCs at Georgia Tech in Atlanta. And my parents were there. That's the first time they ever came to a sporting event for me, like since Little League, like baseball. And they both were there. That's the first time they were both there. And they got there on short notice. I told them like last minute, man, and they showed up. I think we were all actually staying at the same hotel. Like they was at the same hotel that my parents, the team was staying at. And they pulled up and they saw me compete in the 4x1. They missed the 100, which was fine. They missed the 200. I'm glad they missed the 200. I got my ass smoked. I got smoked in the 200. Yeah, well, I was bullshitting prior to that race. I was doing stuff I ain't had no business doing. But yeah, I got smoked in that one. But yeah, like they watched me run the 4x1. So I appreciated that one. And I think the second most memorable was competing at indoor. It was on ESPN. Obviously, the first one was on ESPN too, but the second one was my first time ever competing on ESPN for the ACC network. And I had like a lot of my friends that really watched me the whole way. Like they always tapped in, like T Brown, Johnny, Bobby. I think some other dudes that like watched the whole process. Obviously, Johnny, he didn't watch the whole process, but he saw like I met him in JUCO in Cali, so he watched like so he only saw like the back half, but still like T Brown, like he was he's seen it all. Same with Johnny at my last year in JUCO, like Johnny and T Brown, they seen like the races I had to run to even get a scholarship. I had to run like a 10-4 to get like a big scholarship to go to Louisville. And I remember like before my last meet, I was at like 10-5-4. And I remember T Brown texting me and say, I had a dream that you ran 10-4-5 at nationals at the state meet when I ran 10-4-6. So like,
oh, wow.
You know, like all that, you feel me? So I'll say those two moments were like the coolest, like full circle moment for me was just, you know, being able to see the people that put the confidence in me, that supported me the whole way, show up for me and in person or virtually. So I think those two are always going to be number one for me.
So how did you go from that, right? From running track to getting into sports journalism? Was that always something you wanted to do whenever sports was done, or like what did you have a kind of a aha moment? Like how did we get from DJ, the Louisville sprinter, to getting into journalism, going to Columbia to get your master's in journalism?
I would say like I always knew I wanted to get into sports media. That was something I always wanted to do. I just didn't know how. So when I got to Louisville, I did an internship with Louisville 680, a radio station or whatnot. Biggest waste of my time career-wise. And it's not against them. It just wasn't like what move the needle in terms of experience and what was going to help me down the line. I would say that systemically, there is an issue with athletes. These are athletes post-career, and it's mainly because so much of your time centers around your sport in college, especially for males. Mainly black males. So much is about like the sport that you're in. We get thrown into these BS majors. Like a lot of guys get communication. Communication is about as general degree as you can have, right? Or you get thrown into sports administration. Most guys don't even want to be athletic directors. Or you get thrown into like sociology. I was thrown into sociology. Like, oh, they're trying to be no social worker. So like I got a degree in sociology, and once I graduated, I still was trying to figure out, like, do I want to do local TV, radio, writing? And I met with one guy named Stefan Dingle, who was a anchor for WLKY, the CBS affiliate in Louisville. So we connected, and he helped me get to NABJ, National Association of Black Journalists Convention in Detroit. So I went, and I think there is when I met a lot of people from all spaces, right? Radio, TV, writing. So my aha moment was when I was like my best interactions were with the local, with writers overall, whether you're a reporter, columnist, whatever it was. Those are my best interactions. My worst interaction was just with local TV people. I don't know why. A lot of them be stuck up for whatever reason. I don't be understanding why a lot of local guys be having like, stuck up personalities. A lot of those guys be like stuck in like Timbuktu, making like $20,000. Like, bro, like relax. You know what I'm saying? Like, just chill. You feel me? Like, we get you be on TV, but nobody watches local news anymore. So just relax. You feel me? Like that was my interaction with a lot of people.
Facts. Yeah.
But my most genuine interactions were with people that were like writers. Like I remember kicking it with Clinton Yates, Chris Haynes. Like I remember like the last day, like just talking to them for like almost an hour at a table. We were just, chopping it up or whatnot. And I want to say his last name is Brewer, but I forgot his first name. But he was at the Washington Post.
Jerry Brewer.
Yeah, Jerry Brewer. So those three guys, I spent a lot of time talking to them. Spent some time talking to some other guys previous. But those are my best in natural interactions. And I think that's what pulled me towards wanting to be a writer. And then, I started, covering Louisville football and basketball 2018, 2019. Obviously, the football team was an abomination. They went 2-10. They started 2-1 and they didn't win a game after that. So I covered a lot of that, and I did a lot of radio. So those were really good reps. But I would say my aha moment was at that convention. Well, all right, I want to be a writer. So I used those clips to go to Columbia, and here we are now. I want to say almost 3 years later. Well, over 3 years, almost 4 years later. Actually, 4
years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, time flies, especially as we get older. But but DJ, like a lot of people in our industry like understand this, but for maybe people listening who don't understand, like sports fans or what have you, like a lot of times, like when you're starting out, you have to start in like these really small markets or places you don't really want to be, places people don't even know like it exists. I had an experience like that in
you started in El Paso.
Yeah, well, not really, but deep South Texas, in Laredo, Texas, on the border, but I'm grateful for that just because of like the reps and the experience and being on my own, right? Like you don't have anyone to lean on out there, like it's sink or swim. And I know for you, what that experience was at St. Augustine, right? Yeah, St. Augustine Record in St. Augustine, Florida. Town of like 15,000 people. You covered preps and Division II sports, right? So being out there, and this was your first full-time job, right? So being out there, what did you, I guess, what was your experience out there? But maybe within that, what did you maybe learn about yourself, kind of being in that environment?
I think, covering prep sports in St. Augustine, Florida. It wasn't too far from Jacksonville, but Jacksonville was an abomination of a city anyway. So I mean, you know, like, yeah, sure, you can go to Jacksonville. I ain't trying to go there. But I would say, like, you know, St. Augustine, the record, I would say that was probably I felt my most impactful stop because, like, when you cover high school sports, you know, like, you're part of the community, right? Like, people, if you don't tell these kids' story, nobody else will. You know, a lot of these kids, this is it for them. Like, most of these kids, they're not going to the major D1s, D1AAs, even like high-level D2s. Like, there's a lot of kids that I covered that when they went to college, like some of the guys that did go D1 or even D2, some of the girls that went D2, a lot of them ended up leaving the first spot they was at. Because, like, I don't know, I don't want to say they weren't talented enough. I would say maybe they just didn't go to the right situation. But I really built a really good relationship with a decent amount of those players and the family, you know, because again, like, every time I wrote a story on like a enterprise story, like, the parents always wanted to copy the newspaper because, again, like, you get to like frame this and put this up in your wall, like, wow, my kid was in the newspaper, even though, you know, the newspaper is dying. But again, like, when someone gets to have their kid written about, because the difference between that and local TV is, like, local TV is hard to keep those clips. Like, you got to get those specific clips, and like, you can't just Google it, right? Where these, you can actually just Google it, like, look up, you know, whether it's, you know, this one girl, something Gomes. I don't know why I'm blanking on her name right now. I used to write about her a lot, but something Gomes. I don't know why I'm not remembering her first name. I don't think it was Sierra Gomes. It can't be Sierra Gomes, but it's something Gomes. But I wrote a nice story about her and her grandma, how grandma, like, they moved because her grandma was sick and her grandma passed away, and they obviously all loved that story. I wrote a story about this one player that went to UCF, went to USF. He ended up transferring, but how he was kind of, him and his brother were left at a bus stop. His mama left them at a bus stop. And I wrote about that a little bit and how they was able to overcome that. And I wrote about Jazik. He was a D2 basketball player, Jazik Lottie. You know, I still talk to his dad from time to time. I still text him from time to time. He actually he's been playing overseas in Switzerland, and like he got a stint with the Portland Trailblazers during summer league. So again, like, you get to watch these people like kind of like grow before your eyes.
Yeah.
And so I would say the experience was fun, man. A lot of pure joy. You know, just being a part of that community. A lot less agendas. A lot less people that you don't got to deal with no agents. You don't got to deal with no general managers. The head coaches want you around. They want you to. And then here's the thing, when, you know, I had to write a controversial piece, like, the head coaches in the area were like, yeah, man, right there. Like, we need this out there because, you know, it's unfair that these kids are suffering, right? So you really, like, everything is about the kids and about the kids' betterment. So I would say for sure that experience was special for me. Just being around those kids, watching them grow. Like, I really enjoy watching girl basketball because, like, the competitive level was always through the roof and the skill was just higher. In all honesty, like, the boys, it was more like this type of basketball you see. People go play pickup basketball, you know? So with the girls, like, you saw, like, plays really being ran. You really saw, like, you know, girls really, like, having to use their form to shoot. Like, there was this one girl from Oakleaf. Man, she was special. Blanking on her name right now, but she was a 4-star. She was so cold, man. Like, that girl was so cold. Like, I remember calling her, like, Steph Curry. That's how. No, she played at Damian Lillard. There we go. She played like Damian Lillard or Kate. You know, honestly, she played at Caitlin Clark because she really had a jumper. Really had a jumper. So, like, I really enjoyed watching her play against Gomes. So Gomes played more like Rajon Rondo, where, like, yeah, she could shoot a little bit and whatnot, but she was better at distributing, getting to the rack. And same with Kiera, who was at the other school in St. Augustine. She played a little bit like Rajon Rondo too, where, like, they were always, or I could say, yeah, she played Rajon Rondo too, but she was really trying to get triple doubles because she would get the rebound, fast break, getting everybody involved. So I got to watch them, that team specifically, all the way to state. You know, they went to the Final Four. They got bludgeoned against some team that had. Bro, this one team, they had like a 6'2" guard. A 6'2" guard. Yeah, bro, they had a 6'2" guard that could shoot. I'm talking about, I was late to the game because of traffic and like my car was tripping and whatnot, so I needed a cat. Like, it was a whole bunch going on. When I got in, it was like 21-8 or something like that, and they had like a 6'2" guard, like really like wetting. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, it was over before you knew it, but like it didn't matter that it was over before they knew it. Like I think that experience was special for everybody on that team, right? Because the head coach, he told me like right after they cut down the nets, he was like, "Oh, we about to get killed next round." So like he knew, so he was more like, "Well, I'm just here for the vibes," you know. So and I think that's what a lot of high school sports is. It's more about the experience, and you get to be a part of that. So I know I went on a rant, but like that was probably the most fun I had covering overall. Like the money I was making ain't matter, the city I was living in ain't matter. I really felt part of a community.
Yeah, nah, I really feel that because that was my experience in Laredo. Like they really, like even when I've like gotten new jobs, like it's been years since I lived out there, but they'll always kind of like check in, like how you doing? Because I mean, yeah, you were really, like you said, that you're really a part of the community. I did not like it in Laredo, but it was really like at the core of like why I wanted to do the job, like being able to tell stories and so yeah, I felt like everything you said. It's a really unique and special experience to be able to cover high school sports in a small community. But let's talk some NFL, DJ. So we'll talk about CJ and how he's the next one, right? Like he looked like a legit franchise quarterback. But first, let's talk about your experience covering the Jets and Zach Wilson, who we know has kind of been a bust, right? Like he's not good. So I guess that you went from St. Augustine to New York, right? To cover the Jets. Like what was that jump like for you? And then covering a number 2 overall pick who turned out to not be very good. Like what was that like? And being in the New York market.
I would say that that jump, I think the biggest adjustment was just like the amount of agendas and like agents you got to deal with. I already knew like head coaches and GMs, you might not get much from them or whatnot, but like when you try to work those back channels, how difficult that can be. So I said that was the biggest jump, but at the core, it's still like telling stories, writing about the games, writing about what's happening with the team. And again, it was a COVID year, so we didn't have locker room anyway, so it was actually kind of easier, right? Because like you didn't really have to worry about too many guys. It was a first year coach. It was a second year for the general manager, kind of, or like his second full season. So like nobody really had that many sources across the board. Nobody was breaking stories left and right. So it was actually like that just wasn't too hard. In honesty, obviously going from the beat where like you're the only guy in the beat on the competition to like now you're in a market where you got to compete in New York. You got to compete with the Post, ESPN, and the Athletic, the Ledger, NJ.com. Like you got to put way more people. You got way more eyeballs on you. Way more people want to talk to you. Your opinions are there's a bigger microscope on all that. So I would say all that was probably the biggest adjustment was that. But like as you said, like if you know how to story tell, that ain't no such thing as a big jump in that capacity. Now I would say like if I want to cover high school sports to having to work on first take every day, yeah, that'd be tough. But going from covering high school to covering NFL pro beat, because the core is still about telling stories and trying to build rapport and build stories. It's all the same metrics and all the same it's all the whole same process. So the jump wasn't really too crazy for me.
What was it like covering Zach Wilson in particular?
Covering Zach was interesting because when you cover a rookie quarterback, like everybody give him the benefit of the doubt. Everybody give him the benefit of the doubt. But you can kind of see early that he ain't have it because he had the talent, but in terms of like the ability to play in the league, I think mentally you could kind of tell like he wasn't built for New York. Because like I was just talking to a player on the Texans right now about just because he played in New York before, And he was just like, he was agreeing with me like, yo, that market is different, mainly because like you can't avoid the media and you can't avoid what's being said about you. Like you can try to ignore it, but like, you know, you basically would have to not use Twitter, not use Instagram, not use sports radio, basically not use your phone, and then tell everybody in your circle to never send you anything. And tell everybody in your circle to not pay attention to any of that stuff. And it's hard for people who are in your circle to not pay attention to stuff because like they love that specific person and they can't help it, right? Because like they naturally want to watch ESPN or watch, you know, scroll on Twitter or whatnot, and they see they child or their cousin or their brother getting crushed all the time, or at least getting under scrutiny and things like that. Like Zach Wilson's brother blocked me on Twitter. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, I get it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I had to keep it real a lot on him. So I would say, but covering him, like, I ain't no relationship with him or whatnot. Covering him was just more like, I only had him for the rookie year. I would say, like, the second year is when I was like, oh, yeah, he might not have it. Because he wasn't looking good at OTAs at all. And he wasn't looking that good at all. Like I knew it was an issue because he looked way better the previous OTAs than he did in the 2022 OTAs.
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of knew, like, okay, there might, because again, like the Jets had really upgraded their defense, right? They got Sauce, they got DJ Reed, they brought in Whitehead. You feel me? It was CJ Mosley second year in that system. Same with Quincy Williams second year in that system. The whole D line was the whole second year in the system. So I was like, okay, there might be an issue here. You know what I mean? There might be an issue here. But you know, I would say like you kind of could tell early that he mentally might crack playing in New York.
Mm. And now to flip to Houston, right, where you cover the Texans now for ESPN, it is still we're still very early in CJ Stroud's rookie season, and we know what he is, right? Like he's a great anticipatory thrower, precise, accurate, like great feel for the game, fast processor. We've seen all that, right? But I guess from you being there every day, right? You're at practice every day. You're at all the games. What is maybe something unique about CJ that you've learned in the short time you've been covering him?
I think the thing that's most unique about him, because like you know, like the film from college said, like he like you could see like he processes pretty well into like anticipation, and that's translated pretty well. I think the biggest thing was just like how much of a leader he is, like a natural born leader, and how guys like really connect with him. Like I always catch him when I'm talking to other players on both sides of the ball, right? Like last year, I actually didn't see Davis Mills doing that often, right? Davis was kind of secluded, but then again, like the way the locker room was set up, like Davis was sitting by both of his quarterbacks, so that kind of might have explained that. And we just didn't see him in there that often. But CJ, like I see him talking to everybody. You know what I mean? Like everybody. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. I'm actually working on a story right now just by his overall leadership ability. And it's off the charts. Like it's truly off the charts. Like this is a different type of cat in the leadership department. And I think that's a big component is getting guys to want to follow and lead. Get you want to follow and you lead those guys, right? He's really good at that. Like he's really good. Like he's big on like bonding off the field and making sure we all kick it together and we get to learn each other as men. He's really, really big on that. Like he has guys come over to his crib all the time for dinner. No matter who it is, it could be like receivers or linemen. He got handshakes with like 25, 30 guys on the team. He's really big on that. Like he's real big on that. So I would say like that's probably the one thing that I learned by him is how much of a leader he is.
And DJ, it's still kind of relatively early in your career as a journalist, as it is mine as well. But I guess for you, what has been the most memorable reporting experience? Like a specific story or breaking a specific story, or like, did you have something like that where you think about where it's like, oh, wow, like maybe this was my I made it moment or you know, just made you feel really good, something along those lines?
Yeah, so I got two. I would say, you know, the story that got me to the Daily News was writing about like a Black Lives Matter issue in St. Augustine. There was a girl, Kiara Stable. She was wearing Black Lives Matter t-shirts before pregame all the time, and she would take it off. You get a jersey once the game started, and the athletic director tried to get her to stop wearing it. I reported on that, and he ended up having to resign because they had got like a lot of attention because again, like he was basically trying to politically force his way, like politically influence kids to do what he didn't want them, like make them do something that he wanted, when in reality, like that's not what he's supposed to be doing. Had text. I did like a lot of good reporting. I had text messages from her, like from like a trainer and school district, one of the people in the school district, saying like, we can't control what they wear, but I mean we can't control what they do during the anthem, but we can control what they wear. Like it was like a lot of reporting that I did, and that allowed me to get to the New York Daily News. And I would say my favorite study of the Daily News was when Tyreek Hill got traded. That was between the Jets and the Dolphins, and like being able to build up the reporting and build up the rapport with people in the building to like them basically telling me like he ain't coming here, right? And I was able to report on that and like just put like the people in the building are optimistic that he's gonna come, and then obviously went to Miami because Kansas City let him pick. So I think like those two instances was like, all right, it's a hot button issue. You got to report on it quickly because like that situation with the with the Tyreek Hill thing was like, I kind of had to know that within like we only had like an hour to work with, because as you remember, like it was Tyreek Hill requested a trade.
Yeah,
Tyreek Hill it's down between the Dolphins and Jets.
Yeah, it was very quick.
It was very quick, right? So you had to like really be on it and like hope that like people that you were reaching out to would like respond in a timely manner. What's funny though? I had asked 2 people in the building that Saturday before, because I think all that happened like a Tuesday. I asked him like that weekend, like, are y'all gonna make any moves to try to help Zach? Like some weapons, and like nobody responded, and that's why nobody responded because they were trying to get Tyreek Hill.
Yeah.
So yeah, like that was why nobody responded. And like I remember texting one guy, like, oh, I see why you didn't respond. He's like, yeah, we had to keep that under wraps. But yeah, so I know like once it was finally unraveling, they were able to tell me like, yeah, nah, he's not coming, because they were trying to go after Chandler Jones also, which was good that they didn't get him because Chandler Jones went crazy. But yeah, they were just like, nah, he ain't coming. While everybody was still speculating, I already knew that he wasn't coming. So that was pretty cool to be in the mix for something like that and like kind of already had the inside scoop like he was going to be a Dolphin. So
for sure. And DJ, I feel like you're really unique because you're a former D1 athlete who's become a journalist, right?
Yeah.
Like we see a lot of like athletes become like talking heads or personalities or analysts or however you want to call it. But I feel like you're very unique in just kind of what you've done. So I guess what advice would you maybe give to, high level athletes, whether they play D1 or whatever, who want to be more than a talking head in sports media? What advice would you give to those folks as being someone who's done it yourself?
I would say work at the local newspaper in the off season, like not like the school student paper in the off season, your off season, wherever that is. Like if I could do it all over again, like I remember my counselor, she put me in a newspaper writing class and I dropped it. I shouldn't have dropped it. In hindsight, I shouldn't have dropped that class. In all honesty, because like that would have helped me in terms of being able to find a job once I graduated. So that was on me. But I would say, yeah, to find you a class like that, and realize, like the best way to elevate through the industry is through like quickly, right? Is like you're a writer. Because like you and I both know, you do local TV, you get locked into contracts. Mm-hmm. If you do radio, you basically throwing Hail Marys if you're trying to elevate quickly. Throwing a Hail Mary, like if you realize most guys that be on radio, like they be there for a minute.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They be there for a minute. Yeah, like the radio industry is real nasty. And it doesn't pay that well. And like there's not like a silver line. Because I can understand like a local TV guy, right? Like, oh, if I can get to become an anchor in this market or that market, it could be major, I can make 6 figures. Like radio, I've heard guys tell me like, man, this ain't something you want to do. It's gotta be like a side hustle. You gotta get you a side hustle. Right. So I would say like, yeah, like just work at your local paper, work at your local TV, not local TV, local student paper, and I think you'll have a great shot at being able to figure out what you want to do and kind of go from there. And again, like if you're a student athlete working at your local paper and you don't play football or basketball, like you're writing about the football and basketball team, most likely you're gonna know guys on both teams, right? Maybe not basketball, because basketball dudes can be weird. Like a little bit, they weren't weird, but they're weird. But like football guys, like, you know, we all hung in the same circles. We all mess with the same girls. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like everything, like, you know what I'm saying? We all eat at the same spots, you know, because that's what they eat with. Yeah. But Louisville, like the football team ate at Thornton's. We ate at Thornton's. We all had similar tutors until like they eventually went somewhere, you know, they got their own full facility where they did all that there. We all went to the same parties. We all lived in similar buildings, like, you know, like, because a lot of our players lived either the clubhouse or the retreat. A lot of my friends at the clubhouse or the retreat. You know what I mean? Like you're gonna be at the same place as these folks, so like use that as a resource to like have potential inside information, or like, oh, this player is really good. Okay, cool. Like I know his say, like hypothetically, like if let's say hypothetically, I worked at the school paper, I could have written a bunch about Jair because me and Jair were cool. Jair Alexander, the Packers cornerback. Me and him were cool, and I was best friends with his line brother. You know what I mean? Like his line brother was one of my closest friends. Like he's gonna probably be like one of the best men at my wedding. And we was real tight. So that's what I would say. Like, you know, so I could have written stuff on Jair then because I had that relationship and connection with him. You know, and again, like, you know, like, and then if you need to do investigative stuff, like you really good then too, because like you can. Guys, you know what I'm saying? You don't necessarily need to put guys on record, but like they'll tell you stuff and you can go from there. Like I remember when Bobby Petrino got fired, like one of the players on the team who I got real tight with, he spilled the beans. He was like, yeah, this what happened, this what happened, this is gonna be this one. Cause they started 2-1, they fell to 2-2, and they had a shot at beating Florida State and they folded at the end, like someone passed through a pick, went back. Not to the crib, but, you know, it got returned, and then, like, they ended up scoring a touchdown to win the game, and that was it. And, like, Bobby kind of blamed the players for that, and that's when they all checked out on him. And that's why after that, you look at their record and you look at their schedule, once they lost to Florida State, because they didn't lose to, like, the team they lost to by much the week before, but once they lost to Florida State, you check, they started getting their heads beaten afterwards. Like, I'm talking about getting their noggins drilled. I'm talking about, man, they were getting bludgeoned. Like, I remember the Clemson game, I think they lost like 77 or 76 to zip or something like that. Like they were getting absolutely. Like I remember Georgia Tech dropped 60 on them and they threw the ball like twice.
What?
Yeah.
Nah, that's crazy.
On them. Yeah. Because it explained like they checked out on him because if you saw the very next year they went 2-10 and the very next year they went 8-5 and they won a bowl game against Mississippi State. And it wasn't like Scott Satterfield brought in any new recruits. It was the same players from the previous year, and they did way better. And that go back to what I was saying. Like, everybody checked out on Bobby Petrino. But, again, when you have those connections, you can report on stuff like that. So that's what I would suggest.
Okay. And DJ, what is your goal in this industry? Like who do you see yourself becoming in sports media?
I would say, you know, like, I ain't trying to become nobody. I'm trying to be myself. You know, honestly, I think, like, you know, I eventually want to, you know, be on TV primarily as a analyst. I think I can do a really good job of that, and I keep it fun. And again, like, still be able to connect with players and have fun with the stuff. So I would say that is my end goal, is to eventually get on TV as an analyst, or even on a TV report like what Cameron Wolf does, and then, you know, go from there, and then like kind of be in that lane. I don't necessarily want to become like a Stephen A. He has to have an opinion on too many topics, and I don't, you know what I mean? Like that can get tricky, because like, you know, you're serving so many masters at a certain point that like it can get tricky. Seem like Adam, like I would never want Adam's job. I would say Adam's salary, but I wouldn't want Adam's job. Like, Adam's job is crazy.
Don't we all? Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So
yeah.
So I'll say that's my end goal.
Okay. All right, DJ. Well, quick hitters, and then I'll get you out of here. First one, track or football?
If I could what?
As a love, track or football?
I ain't love track. I did track to keep my education going. I ain't love track.
Okay.
The only thing I loved about track was the competition and the brotherhood that I built my friends in JUCO and at Louisville. But the actual sport, like I love watching track, but like I would go and play flag football today. Why ain't anybody go train for no track? Crazy. Yeah, so football easy.
Okay.
Easy.
Okay. Your favorite NFL city?
I guess right now it has to be Miami.
Excluding Miami.
I lied. Vegas.
Okay. Yeah. Nothing more needs to be said. I think I get it. Your least favorite NFL city that you've been to?
Is that a Green Bay or Jacksonville? I was gonna say Baltimore, but then I had to think like, it's got to be Green Bay. Green Bay was an abomination.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Your best NFL stadium game day experience?
It's a tie between Vegas or Atlanta. I would say Atlanta because Atlanta was easier. Like the features are similar, but it's easier to get around Atlanta. Vegas, like you got to do a lot more stuff.
Okay. All right. Your worst NFL stadium game day experience?
Denver, because the Wi-Fi ran out. The Wi-Fi wasn't working.
Ooh, I hate when that happens. Oh yeah.
And I had to file a deadline. Yeah. So I would say Denver.
Okay. All right. Your biggest pet peeve as a sports reporter?
When people in a scrum, when people don't ask what has to be asked. Like a couple weeks ago, like CJ had just set like another record, and nobody asked Nico Ryans about CJ doing that. Kyle went to the locker room. Kyle trying to get color and whatnot.
Yeah.
Nobody about that. Biggest pet peeve is when people don't ask what has to be asked. Because like if you're not doing that, what we here for then?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. That's our job.
You here to show off.
Yeah.
You here to be these players' friends. Like.
Yeah.
I'm cool.
Okay. All right. The last one. What's the best piece of advice you've ever gotten?
I would say be flexible and and really like you just get to work, bro. Like that's the only way you're gonna survive in this industry if you get to work and you're flexible. If you're not flexible, if you're not both, you better be a hard worker. If you're not a hard worker and you just flexible, you can bounce from job to job. If you're a hard worker but you're not that flexible, you'll at least keep a job. I'll say you'll at least keep a job. So yeah, I'll say be flexible and be a hard worker, bro. Because if you're not a hard worker, you don't got no shot in this industry at all. You don't got no chance at all. I still say to this day, the most work I put in was at my first stint in St. Augustine. Because like as you said, like you kind of on your own. You got to do a lot more. Like I was my own writer, my own
photographer. Yeah, I feel that. Okay. All right, well, DJ, appreciate you, man. I've taken almost an hour of your time. Really appreciate you, bro. Keep doing your thing. You're on the rise in NFL media. I hope to one day see you on First Take because, I mean, for all you listening, like this guy can debate sports like no others, and he always texts in caps like all the time. Yeah, so, but for real, bro, like keep doing your thing. I guess where can people follow you if they want to keep track of what you're doing, what you're doing for ESPN covering the Texans? How can people tap in with what you got going on?
Just find me, at DJ Bien-Aime on Twitter. That's where you can find the majority of my work.
Okay. Awesome. Well, this has been the Raw Facts podcast. Everyone, thank you guys for tuning in all the way till the end. Be sure to like, share, subscribe to the Raw Facts podcast, and the show's also on Instagram and X. Until next week, I'll see you guys soon. Peace out.